Okay, hi Danny. This is going to be really fun. We are going to do lesson number 43 today. So, welcome to lesson number 43. And the first thing that you are going to do is go over some of your multiplication facts, and you are going to have 5 minutes to do that. So, that's going to be really fun because I know that you're really good at that. And then we're going to go over adding and subtracting decimals. Okay, and this is part one. We're going to add and subtract decimals part one. We're going to do a part two later, and you are going to learn a lot of cool new things in this lesson. So I hope that you enjoy the lesson. I can't wait to jump right in. Get ready to do multiplication for 5 minutes, okay? Good luck. Bye. Danny. Okay, we are going to jump into lesson number 43. So you should have done your multiplication facts with this lesson. And this lesson is great. It goes over adding and subtracting decimal numbers. So I think you're going to catch on to this right away. You've probably already done some already, but if you're not, if not, you're going to think it's super fun, almost as fun as Baby Yoda having a ride on a, I'm not even going to pretend to know what that kind of vehicle is, but maybe you can tell me. All right, so we're going to jump into mental math. And again, you're going to try and do these in your head, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to practice subtracting a number that ends in 5 from a number that ends in 0. So something like 80 minus 5. So do that and go ahead and write your answer. Now, we're going to start doing that a little bit more, but it's going to be a little bit more complicated, kind of like 80 minus 25. So to do something like that, they say first you subtract 20. So first do 80 minus 20, but then you have to subtract 5 more from that because you were originally subtracting 25. So first subtract 20, 80 minus 20, that would be 60, and then subtract 5 more. So then it would be like 60 minus 5. All right, so 60 minus 5, that would be 55. So that's the answer for that one. I'm not going to tell you any more answers, but I wanted to make sure that you knew how to do it, okay? All right, let's move on. This part is a review. So $6.23 plus $2.98. See if you can do that in your head. Then D, we're going to do 340 plus 26 plus 216. E, let's try 65 plus 8 plus 200. All right, now patterns. So for this part, it goes over counting by halves. So when we count by halves, we say 1/2, 1, 1 and 1/2, 2. That's the numbers that we say. So we're going to count by halves from 1 to 10. And then we're going to write this sequence on a piece of paper. So first let's count by halves from 1/2 to 10. So we would do 1/2, 1, 1 and 1/2, 2, 2 and 1/2, 3, 3 and 1/2, 4, 4 and 1/2, 5. Let's do the rest in our head. 5 and 1/2, 6, 6 and 1/2, 7, 7 and 1/2, 8, 8 and 1/2, 9, 9 and 1/2, 10. Now, write all of that down on a piece of paper. And they want to know what number is halfway between 2 and 5. So for example, if I've got a 2 here and I've got a 5 here, and I want to know what number is halfway in the middle, I'm going to look at the number of spaces that we have. So we have 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2 here. And then I think you can figure out which one is exactly in the middle, but I will let you figure it out from there. Hopefully I didn't make it too easy and you have to actually think about it a little bit like SpongeBob and Patrick are thinking so hard. And I'm going to jump right into the new concept. So the new concept goes over adding or subtracting decimals. Now, when we add or subtract money written with a $sign, you're basically adding or subtracting decimals. And the way that you do that is you add or subtract digits that have the same place value. So that's what we're going to do when we are subtracting or adding decimals. And basically, to make sure that you're adding or subtracting things with the same place value, the way you do that is to line up the decimal points. That's the key to getting these questions right when you add or subtract decimals, is to line up the decimal points. So let's just jump right in and, oh, that's funny. I should write example 1 right here. That's not example 2, that's example 1. So example 1 says we're going to add $3.45 plus $0.75. Now we want to make sure that when we're adding pennies, we're always adding pennies to pennies, dimes to dimes, dollars to dollars. So the way that we always make sure that we're doing that is that we line up the decimals. So I'm going to take this 345 and put it right here. Okay, and then I'm going to take this plus 0.75. Oops. I'll make that bigger. And the way I'm going to get the right answer is I'm going to line up the decimals. I'm not trying to line these numbers up over here, even though they do line up in this situation, but that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is just line up the decimals, okay? So the decimals are just right here, this one, and I want to put them right on top of each other. Okay, so then to do that, now we can add. So the first step is to line up the decimal points in order so that way when you add things together, you're adding things that have the same place value. So you're adding a tenth here, you're adding 1/100th, which is the pennies, and you're adding the dollars with dollars, okay? So that's how we're going to do it, and I'm going to go ahead and add. So the first thing when we add, we start with the ones, but in this case, it's sort of the hundredths. So I'm going to add 5 plus 5, and I get the number 10. So I put the 1 here and the 0 here. Now don't forget to add the 1, because sometimes you've been doing that and getting some of the questions wrong. So then I'm going to add 7 plus 4. 7 plus 4 is 11, and don't forget to add this 1, and that makes 12. So to write 12, I'm going to put a 1 here and a 2 here. Okay. Now I'm going to bring down this decimal point because that's the next thing. And I like to bring it down right when I'm doing the problem, not at the end. So I like to do that. And then I'm going to add the ones place, or the dollars, basically. So we have $1 here and $3. 3 plus 1 is 4. So the answer that I get is $4.20. Now, you're probably thinking at this point, oh, this is not that hard, not too bad, but don't forget, these questions, these examples get harder. So keep paying attention. Here's another trickier one. $5.35 minus $2. So you could probably do this in your head, but that's not what we're going to do. We are going to figure it out using math. So the first thing to realize is that this 2 doesn't have a decimal. So how are we going to line up the decimals? Okay, so we have to give it a decimal. So if you have $2, you can easily change that to this. And that way you have the same number of spaces past the decimal as this other one. And it makes sense because you have $2, no dimes, and no pennies. So that you can add zeros after a decimal and it doesn't change the value. You had $2 before, you still have $2. It's actually the same number. So now I'm going to go ahead and line up the decimals. I'm going to make this a little bit, well, I was going to make it a little bigger, but I don't know if that'll help. Okay, so I'll just grab this and put this down here. Now, when I put it down here, I'm paying lots of attention to line up the decimals. I'm going to get this out of the way. Okay. And then I'm going to make this nice and big so we can do it and see what we're doing. Okay. So now I've lined up the decimals. So these are right on top of each other. And remember, this didn't have any spaces here, but I added 2 zeros because there are 0 dimes and 0 pennies, and those line up with that one. Now in this situation, we're not adding, we're subtracting because it was $5.35 minus $2. So we're going to start with these numbers, and we're going to say, what is 5 minus 0? And it is 5. Then we're going to go 1 over to the tenths place. These are the dimes. 3 dimes minus 0 dimes leaves you with 3 dimes. Then I'm going to bring down that decimal because that is next in line. So I like to do it right when I'm doing the problem. And then we're going to subtract 5 minus 2 because it's $5 minus $2. $5 minus $2 is $3. So I end up with an answer of $3.35. Okay, so that's not so bad. Let's go on to example 2. And example 2 says we're going to add 3 different numbers this time. See how it's getting trickier? So we're going to add $3.75. Then we're going to add $4 to that. And then we're going to add 15 cents to that. So that is a little tricky because they have dollars here and then this one is cents. So the first thing that we do is need to change all the money amounts so that they have the same form. So that's why I put this 1, 2, 3, because that is step 1. Change all those numbers so they are in the same form, so that way you can line up the decimals. So the $3.75 is already in a form that I like, so I'm going to leave that one the way it is. But the $4, I don't like that because there's only one whole number. So we need to change this $4 into 4.00 because that doesn't change the value. It's still $4, but it shows that there's 0 dimes and 0 cents. What about the 15 cents? I put the 15 cents here. We need to change that into a form that we like. And the form looks something like this. There's a dollar sign, a decimal, and 2 spaces past the decimal. But where does the 15 cents go? And it actually goes here because the 5 means 5 pennies. So that's in the hundredth spot. The 1 is 1 dime. 1 dime and 5 pennies makes 15 cents. So you can see that they go in the tenths and in the hundredth spot. But we can't just leave a blank, so let's fill that in with a 0. And you can see that this doesn't change the value. This is 15 cents. This is 15 cents. So now all of those numbers have a form that I like. So I'm going to write them again so that I can add them all together. So the first one was $3.75. The next one was $4, but I changed it to $4.00. And the way I'm writing it, I'm trying to line up all the decimals. The last one was 15 cents, and we changed that to 0.15. And now that they are all in the same form, I can line up the decimal points. That's step 2. And then step 3 is we're going to add. So let's start with, whoops, I thought I was using the pointer. Let's start with these numbers over here in the hundredths place. So these are all the pennies. We're going to add those first. 5 pennies here plus 0, we still have 5. So 5 plus 5 makes 10. I'm going to change that color a little so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put the 0 of the 10 here and put the 1 there. So that makes sense because if you have 5 pennies and 5 pennies, it's kind of like having a dime. So we're going to add a dime to the 10th spot. So now we're going to add 7 plus 1, which is 8. And don't forget about this one that we're adding. That's a total of 9. So 9 goes here in the 10th place. Then what do I have next? I have the decimals. So I'm just going to put a decimal right here in the answer. Then what do I have next? I have the dollars. $3, $4, $0. 3 plus 4 is 7. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to put my dollar sign, and the answer that I get is $7.90. Okay, very good. Let's do example 3. Example 3 is now, this is just decimals without any sort of dollar sign. And you can add decimals like this the same way that you add money. And step 1 is to line up the decimal points. So I'm going to take this number, I'm going to put it down here, make it a little bigger. And then I'm going to take this number and put it in a place where the decimals line up. Okay, so I think that lines up the decimals. Let me bring it up a little higher so I can have a little more space to work. All right, so now the decimals line up so I can just add them. I don't need to add any extra zeros because we're not really talking about money here. So I don't need a 0 here or a 0 here. It would just end up adding an extra 0 at the end, and I don't really need that. So I'm just going to start over here. 2 plus 5 is 7. The next thing to do is the decimals. So the decimals are lined up, so I'm just going to bring a decimal down here. Now I'm going to add 0 plus 0, and of course I get 0. So the answer to this first problem of 0.2 plus 0.5 is 0.7. All right, what about B? B is a subtraction problem, so it might be a little trickier, but just like before, we're going to line up the decimals and we're going to subtract. So I'm going to bring this down here in a way that lines up the decimals, okay? And then we're just going to make that big. Over here to the right, and we're going to do 7 minus 1. 7 minus 1 is 6. The next number over is 4. 4 minus 4 is going to be 0, so I'm going to put a 0 there. The next number over is actually the decimal, so I'm going to bring the decimal straight down. Then I'm going to do 3 minus 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So the answer that I get, and this is pretty tricky, sometimes it's hard to get an answer like this one, is 0.06. Okay, now let's go on to example 4. Example 4 says 1 gallon of milk is about 3.78 liters. 2 gallons of milk is about how many liters? So what they want us to do is, we already know that this is 1 gallon, but if you change it to liters, it equals 3.78 liters. So this is another gallon that is also equal to 3.78 liters. I should probably write this equal sign the other way. Okay, so they want to know how many liters is 2 gallons together. Well, it would be easy if it was gallons. It would be 1 gallon plus 1 gallon is equal to 2 gallons, but it's liters. So what we need to do is we need to add 3.78 liters plus 3.78 liters. Now I want you to notice how I did this problem here, because what I did automatically is I lined up these decimals, and that makes it so when I add all these numbers, I'm adding the same place value to the same place value. Okay, so I'm just going to add straight down. Let me get a different color so we can kind of see. So 8 plus 8 is going to be 16. So I'm going to write 1 and 6. Now, don't forget to carry the 1. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus that 1 is 15. So I'm going to write 1 and 5. Now, the decimals are next, so I see a decimal here, and I'm going to bring a decimal and put it right down here. Then I'm going to go to my ones place. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And the answer is 7.56 liters, because we were adding liters plus liters, and we get 7.56 liters. And that's the amount of liters that is in 2 gallons of milk. Yay, you're done! I hope you enjoyed the lesson, Danny. Love ya. Have a great day. Bye.